Well, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Jesus Cartel. With me as always, Mr. Clay Russell. Clay, how's everything going for you?
Things are going well.
I can only assume that was an extremely sarcastic response to your wife. She was listening last week, and let us know if more of you had this experience. Clay and I listened on my phone. It sounded normal, but Miss Becky said that when she listened, it sounded like Clay had just pounded a case of Red Bulls. And so maybe you'll be speaking slower today?
Yeah, she really thought that you had done that to me.
Yeah.
Just because, I'm the guy that doesn't even drink caffeine. So she thought that I was talking faster than you. She thought maybe it was some cruel trick that you were trying to play, even though you don't play any cruel tricks on anybody. And because she knew that I don't drink energy drinks or caffeine or whatever, but she thought that I was speaking a little fast. So anyhow, we'll slow it down for my wifey.
So did you think that I went in the post-editing process and sped your voice up for humor, or did she assume that I dosed you with something?
No. Here's what you got to remember about Miss Becky. She never assumes that I did anything wrong.
Sure.
She always assumes that somebody else did something wrong. So, and she also knows that I can't be controlled. So she doesn't think that you got one over on me by making me do something that I didn't want to do. She thinks that you went in post-editing and did that. So, so anyhow, that was her idea there. But I think we're all good.
Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of fun stuff I can do in editing. Yeah. A lot. And that would not be one that I would have thought of at all. Because I could just do it just fast enough to where it would bother people, but not so fast that it was obvious that I did it. And that would be really annoying for people.
So now the woman that never plays any pranks or jokes on anybody just gave you a very good idea.
Yeah, that would be an excellent play. Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that.
Doing good, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, sounds great, Clay. Good talking to you again. Yeah. Man, it's been a whirlwind of a few weeks, man. We had some playoffs last week. We talked about a little bit, talked about how both those games are kind of uphill fights. Both teams fell a little bit short of winning a state championship, but still got a lot of youth on both of those teams, and really looking forward to what they can put out over the next few years. And so I don't want to say, and you'll understand what I'm saying. It's not that we're not grateful for the effort that was put in, but we'll see what they're made of now. How you respond to failure is really what reveals more than almost anything else about a person. And so, do you get in there and put the extra effort in and try to close the gap more, or do you just say, hey, man, we got pretty close. That's pretty good, and we'll do this again. And
well, I had the privilege of watching the ending of both games. Not that I didn't watch the rest of it, but like you said, how you handle adversity, how you handle failure. And got to watch, how the ending of both games and how that played out. And I like to watch body language. I like to watch how, like you said, a person's character is made mostly when they handle adverse situations, the majority of the time. So I like watching those things. Not that I like watching people fail, but I do like watching how people handle certain situations,
Yeah.
And so both games didn't come down to the last batter. But in the last batter's mind, it came down to the last batter.
Sure.
And so in one game for FCCS, you had a senior that just batted for the last time.
Yeah.
Even though they're down by 3 runs, they're not coming back at this point, but in his mind, he had the last bat. And watching, how he handled that situation and what he had to deal with. And then at the Mangum game, it was a sophomore that hasn't started all year batting. It come down to the 9-hole batter. Hasn't been, in that starting lineups, worked his way up at shortstop, was put in a different position than what he's been playing, in this game, in championship, and then, hits the ball, but doesn't, not able to get to first safely. So 2 totally different situations there. But after watching both of these teams, man, what a great group of young men we have in this community, you know, and, in Winsboro and Mangum area and stuff, and just a great group of young men that, hey, it was tough. I mean, you're in the championship game, but how many other people, even other schools from this area wasn't even in the playoffs, much less the championship game. And so for them to make it to the championship in their respected divisions, and then both play well in spots in the championship game, so it's just a big testament. And then watching how they handle it, and knowing that both teams are young and that they're going to be back. Not every kid will be back, but most of the kids will be back. So, hey, we talked on here about generations and different generations and stuff, but I will say this, these young men that are developing in this area right here and stuff, I got great hope for them, not just in baseball, but in life. It's some really good young men and young women, around this area.
Yeah. So my advice to these young people would be celebrate the accomplishment, but don't settle in the accomplishment. There's more to do. There's more to be accomplished. And, I mean, at the end of the day, there's more to life than sports. We all know that. Yep. But having the opportunity, and I think one of the things that's so great about sports and why I encourage everybody to put their kids in sports. I'm not saying everybody should put their kids in travel ball and travel the world and do that every weekend of their life, but I definitely think every kid should be competing in something to where that they've got to battle through some adversity. They've got to I'm going to say this sound really controversial, but you'll understand what I'm saying. Your kid needs to feel inadequate in comparison to some other people at some point growing up, so that when they get thrust into adulthood in the workplace, that's not their first experience with these types of feelings and emotions. As a kid, as a young man growing up playing baseball, I learned how to deal with failure on a baseball field. Baseball is a game where you're going to fail more than you succeed in terms of your individual performance. Hitting a baseball is an incredibly difficult thing to do well. It's a round ball, it's a round bat, it's moving, and they tell you got to hit it square. And if you do happen to hit a round ball and a round bat square, there's 9 people out there trying to stifle whatever success you may have had. And so it forces you to kind of deal with that as a kid and learn how to go back to the dugout. We joked about Annalise when she was in T-ball. Aria had her first experience like that where she got emotional getting out just the other day. I kind of laughed because I thought about Annalise. She didn't throw her helmet or anything, but she was just very upset. And she was like, she goes, I've never gotten out before. I said, you've gotten out almost every time over the last 2 years. I said, you haven't gotten out this year. So, it's something where you learn to deal with stuff like that, not let your emotions take over you when you come up short of your expectation, not get envious when somebody else is having success and you're not, or somebody has a position that you want and you don't have. And, we've got to teach our children, or I've gotten to teach my children, like, hey, look, if you really want it, you got to work for it. And it's been something that's really good. And so, to all these young people, hey, you did something special. There's only one other team in the entire state that was where you were. All the rest of the teams didn't get to do that. Right. And so celebrate the accomplishment that you got that far. It's a big deal. It's further than I ever got. Semifinals is the furthest that we made it as a team when I was playing. And don't settle there, though. Keep pushing.
Talking about playing in sports and learning stuff, and learning, failure and different things like that. I mean, if you're a baseball player that, gets on base safely 1 out of every 3 times, you're going to have the highest average on the team. Yeah. And so baseball is a very humbling sport, But another reason to play sports is being part of a team and a team atmosphere. This is something that has really taught my son a lot. It's a humbling experience for a lot of people being part of a team. You're not just as good as you want to be. You're as good as the whole team wants to be.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've really seen carry over to my girls in college, because college has changed a lot. When I went to school and went to Louisiana Tech, you had a lot of these big, huge classes to where you had 200 or 300 people in a class. It's a big lecture hall. It's just one guy speaking monotone the whole time and everything. And now it's not like that. Now you take a lot of those type classes dual enrollment, so you don't even do that when you get to school. But then when you get to college, you have a lot more of breaking into teams and doing projects and doing different things, even taking a test as a team and stuff. Yeah. And then now that Annalise is working, in the private sector and stuff, they do a lot more things as a team. Mm-hmm. And so you have this role, they have that role, but it all comes together. So Annalise works in audit, and each person has their part of the audit, but then if you get through your part a little quicker, you help the next person in audit. But then when it's done and it's all together, it's not your part and their part and everything. It's a comprehensive audit together. And so working in teams and helping some that maybe struggle in this area or helping out in this area and, excelling in different parts, this is a concept that now we've learned in this world that you can do for the rest of your life. Yeah. I mean, even in churches now, we don't have the one guy doing everything now. Now it's a team aspect. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a youth director or children's church or, part of the pastor in the church, we've seen in life that we're better together, we're better relationally. So you're going to work in these teams a lot. The whole lone wolf person and lone wolf Christian and doing things by themselves is really not around that much anymore. So learning team sports, learning how to play together, encourage each other, help each other, build each other up, help each other with some weaknesses, those kind of things that we learn in team sports early on are really good characteristics that can help you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yep, it's a big deal. And the other thing, we talk about overcoming adversity, you also need to learn how to win.
Yeah.
It's winning is not as simple as a lot of people think. You can have a really terrible attitude while you're winning.
Yeah.
And then, we have a syndrome of, we call it the big fish, small pond syndrome, where you're really, really good for where you are.
Yeah.
But if you were somewhere a little bigger, you might not be as special as you think you are. I definitely had that experience growing up, in DeVille. I was, and there were some good ball players in DeVille. I'm not trying to take away from some of the success some of the others had, but I kind of, as a young child, I'd kind of separated myself from the rest of the group, and then we moved to Alexandria, and I'm playing in a private Catholic school in Ellick, and these kids are different.
Yep.
These kids are better, and so I was still really good though, and I worked hard and I got better, and then I started kind of separating myself again, because the work was done. Like I said, there's still lots of other good ball players. I'm not saying I was the best in the world, but those people it started to separate, and you kind of see who was who. Well, then we'd go play somewhere else. I remember the last ball tournament I played. It was at Centenary College, and we were just out of high school. It was a bunch of us, most of whom were going to play college ball or professional ball right after that. It's a really big tournament, and there was one team. They were called the Miners, and you think miners like mining, but the reason they're called the Miners is they had all just gotten drafted, and so this was a team made up of people who had been drafted just out of high school, and they were much better than me. It wasn't close, as good as I thought I was. These guys were in a whole nother classification, and they're not even pros. They were set to be minor leaguers, but the amount of skill and just raw ability these guys had was, it was just clear to me, and that was the first time I kind of ever realized, like, hey man, there's a cap on this for me, and but it's a good experience because it keeps you in a mental headspace where you don't think too highly of yourself. And here's the deal. Everybody on that team, they've got those people too. They're going to run into somebody somewhere. There are very, very few, and I'm talking percentages of a percent of people, like micro 0.00001% of people will ever truly be the most elite in the world at anything. And
and even if they are, it's only going to be for a short period of time.
Sure,
because somebody's going to watch them and catch up with them.
That's right. I mean, you got your Tiger Woods, who was possibly the most dominant professional athlete we've ever seen as far as individual sports go. And now he's just another golfer. Now, you can make a lot of arguments as to why, but that's part of the mix. It's part of the mix is dealing with life outside of your sport, dealing with injuries, dealing with all those things. And so, yeah, it's a wild thing, but man, do they teach some fantastic lessons.
Well, when we were talking about topics for today, I asked you if we had done one on handling disappointments, and it's because I was thinking about, these teams and stuff. But then I almost asked you, have we done one on handling success? And that, because that's something that I like to teach a lot, is because there is an art to handling success, as far as boasting and being too confident and those kind of things, but also, hey, I'm happy where I'm at, but I'm not happy staying this way. Sure. And so I think that would be a good topic one day on how to handle success. Whether it's, academically or athletics, or it can be in your Christian walk. Hey, I'm so much better than I used to be. How do I handle that? Because, we see that at Fresh Start a lot. For those that don't know,
hey, do you want to just rip into that?
Well, it doesn't matter.
I don't see why we don't.
That's up to you.
I think it'd be a fun thing to do.
Well, at Fresh Start a lot, we have different classes that come in. And so every 30 days we have a new class of people that come in. And a lot of our people come from jail, or they're on drugs or alcohol, or not in their right mind, not in the best way, whatever you want to say. And so they come into the center, and we have what's called Freak Out Week. And the reason they call it that is because you got all these other guys that God's doing great things in their lives, and then you got these brand new guys that are just coming off of the street and everything. And so the brand new guys, they come off the street, and they come to these guys, and these guys are, trying to help them out and trying to, take their stuff to their room. They're telling them they love them, tell them, hey, I'm here for you, I'll pray for you, all this kind of stuff. And these guys don't know what to make of it. But then you got some guys that have been at the center for a while, and they kind of start looking down on the brand new people. They're like, well, they're a little loud, or they're not doing things the right way, or they're not obeying all the rules and stuff. And so their success that they've had has misguided them a little bit to forget where they come from just a few months ago. Or I hear in the office a lot of times, well, I wish they would get this together. I'm like, buddy, God's been wanting you to get this together for 45 years. Yeah, you finally just now got it together, So there's a lot of different things that we could talk about in handling success. And the good things about it, the bad things about it, and, and all that. The first thing is you got to realize it's good to be successful. It's good to have success. Are there some bad things that can come along with it? Yes, but they greatly outweighed by success is a good thing. Yeah. So I think we could start there.
Yeah, I think, when I hear how to handle success, there's two things that jump to my mind just immediately. And the first one is you got to recognize that there's nobody in all of life that's self-made. We hear things like that all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I'm a self-made man, or I built this business from the ground up. Yeah, I did this, I did that. And there's a lot of it. And I understand and can appreciate, for the record, how much work it takes to start with practically no resources and build something really impactful. I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, you still didn't do it by yourself. And I'm not even talking about the God factor, which is obvious, I'm talking about someone gave you an opportunity.
Yes.
Like you could, whatever you're selling, someone bought it. Somebody gave you an opportunity to prove. They could have ran you right out the door.
Right.
And they didn't. You didn't force them to do it. You didn't tie them to the chair and make them use your product or whatever. Like, someone gave you a shot. Someone gave you a shot. And you capitalized on it. And I applaud you for that. And that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, you're still not self-made. Yep. You're not self-made. And so you got to get that facade out of your head. And we see that a lot in business. We see it a lot in life. That mindset is probably top 5 as far as things I see hold people back from their relationship with the Lord, from getting better, just like mentally. You know, a lot of people have a lot of mental battles and stuff like that they go through. They feel like everybody's holding them down. It's just them against the world, kind of the lone wolf type thing you were referencing earlier. And it's like, it's me versus everybody. It's always been me versus everybody. And it's like, brother, you're not that special. I hate to say it, but the world is not against you. You're not such a formidable opponent that we all got together and said, hey, will y'all please help me hold Chris back? Because if we don't do something about Chris, man, he's going to get all of us. So we need to accumulate our resources. I apologize to anyone named Chris. We need to accumulate our resources and make sure he never makes it. It's like, dude, you're not that special. Calm down. And so that's of the two. That's the first one. Have you seen a lot of?
Yeah, let's talk about that one for just a minute. You know, because somebody poured into your life.
Yeah.
Somebody influenced you. Yeah. You know, not to go on a rabbit trail too much, but let's take just for easy things. Let's take a child who grew up and his parents were smokers, right? So a child of a smoker has to make a decision whether they're going to smoke or not. I'm either going to smoke because that's what we do in my family, or either I'm not going to smoke because I hate that my mom and dad smoked, and so I'm not going to smoke. Now, a child of a non-smoker doesn't have to make that decision.
Sure.
We just don't smoke.
Yeah.
That's just not what we do, right? So people are going to influence you, good or bad. Somebody influenced you, good, bad, happy or sad, and we say somebody, a bunch of somebody's influenced you. You didn't just come up with this idea out of nowhere. You didn't just come up with the capital out of nowhere. You didn't just come up with the loan out of nowhere. I mean, some banker believed in you. Somebody helped you out. Somebody bought your first product. Somebody gave you a chance to do your first service. Somebody helped you in some way. And when you don't realize that, you'll be arrogant and cocky and think that you're all alone, that you can do this. And what a lonely place to be. You know, I love it when people are interviewing somebody and they ask them a question: who was your favorite teacher when you grew up?
Yeah.
Or who was a major influence on your life? When my kids, even in college, have to answer questions like that, I really like it. A lot of times I like it because they put their daddy, right?
Yeah.
But I also like it because it just makes you realize you didn't do this on your own. Even a great golfer has to have a really good caddy.
No joke. Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I mean, you're not doing this on your own. So, yeah, to answer the first part is, you know, when we're looking at success and people being successful, realizing you didn't do it on your own.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I think the only way, and I think there may be some holes, I think the only way you could truly be self-made is if your mother was having a natural birth at home with no one else helping, and then some wolves broke in mid-birth and wiped out whatever family, and then left you for some reason, and then you had to raise yourself in the forest, you know. But even then, it's like, well, the wolves could have killed you and didn't.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just there's really
Or the
no.
wolves teach you how a pack works.
Yeah,
you know,
there's just really no fathomable way
Right.
to not have received influence in things from other places.
You
And
need people, and people need you.
that's right, and you were created that way. I mean, even God created Adam in the garden and said that everything was good except for one thing. He said one thing wasn't good. You say it was bad. He just says it's not good that man be alone.
That's right.
It's not good. It's not ideal. And so he did something to change that. And so, yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of it. Second thing that I see a lot of times with successful people, and I want to temper this by saying, and it's true across the board, but people that have long-term success and have been successful for a while or have reached a high level of success don't struggle with this quite as much. Some do, but not quite as much. But if you're new to success, meaning you were a person who generally people would say that's not a successful person, and now you start to climb the ladder, babe. You're coming out of the cellar. Be very careful the negative people around you that you let have a voice in your life. Be very careful, because people who are unsuccessful are fine with you as long as you are also unsuccessful.
Yeah, and we see this, like I said, we both work in the addiction field. We see this in the addiction field to where, people come in the center, they start doing great, whether it's men or the women, start doing great, and then all of a sudden somebody decides to try to damper it just a little bit. It could be a mama that just lets you overhear, well, they're going through this holy roller stage right now. What happens when that wears off? Or, well, they made it 30 days, but they've made it 30 days before, and or, well, we just wanted them to be a little bit better. We didn't want him to be completely new, even though it wasn't his decision. This is what the Bible says happens, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think at any point in your life, you need to stay away from the naysayers at any point. Now, do you want just a bunch of yes men around you? No. But there is a difference between somebody speaking positive encouragement in you that may have some negative things in it, and then somebody just being a naysayer. There's let me say that a better way. There's a difference between just people talking trash and trying to bring you down, and then that good confidant saying, hey, look, I know we're doing good in this area, but we need to look out for this. We need to look out for that. Hey, that's just having good people in your corner. I understand that. But we need to stay away from negative people in our life that would say that. The first thing that comes to my mind is mine and Miss Becky's relationship, and that's something we've talked about before. But people say, well, you're just in the honeymoon stage, and then years later, well, y'all are still in the honeymoon stage, and then y'all still, and I'm wondering when it's ever going to end, And by the way, on May the 15th, I guess this episode will show right after that, but on May the 15th, Miss Becky and I will have been married 25 years. We've been together 29 years, and we still in the honeymoon stage. In fact, we're going on a little vacation, and I think she bought us a shirt that says we're on our 25th honeymoon or something like that. But we had to shun negative people out because our marriage was a success. Our family was very successful, and people would try to talk trash about it. Why? Because theirs wasn't. And so we had to be real careful of that. I heard other baseball players and stuff in this area that were, talking trash about FCCS or Mangum or whatever losing in the finals. And I'm like, where were y'all at?
Yeah.
You haven't played baseball in 6 weeks because you finished, Hey, they might have not done the very best in the world, but at the same time, they did way better. Why are we trying to bring them down? But you'll see that a lot. And so if you are going to be successful, we don't want you to think that you did it on your own, but we also don't want you to listen to all the negative things other people around you, because they are going to say negative things about you.
Yeah.
They just are.
Yep. And I also understand you don't always have a choice. That sometimes you're just going to be in situations where there's negative people around. You didn't invite them over. They just happen to be there. Maybe it's a workplace thing. Maybe it's you got mutual acquaintances or whatever, and you just kind of end up in the same places. I get that. I was on the receiving end of some negativity earlier this week or late last week. I don't really remember because I don't care. Right. But it was it's just one of those things where it's like, usually I don't want to say it's not exclusive, but usually it's to justify some form of behavior that they have.
Yeah.
And they need to express their displeasure with you so that they could feel justified in the way that they live. And it's like, I was insulted for a lifestyle choice that I make, and I'm very happy. My family is very happy. Like, they'll fist fight you if you try to accuse anything other than how thrilled they are with life.
Right.
But this person isn't. And they're constantly trying to battle to be happy. And so rather than us just have two different lifestyle choices and that be okay with them because I'm happy and they want to be, they try to insult mine. And it's like, God, man, it's like I hurt so much for those people because it's like you don't have to live that way. You just don't. And, the fun thing about it all, and they'll never know this, but I spend a whole lot of time defending those people to other people, a whole lot of time, more than they or you or anyone would ever believe. And it's so sad that they see me as an enemy when I have gone far above anything that their supposed friends would ever dream of doing for them. And I'm not upset with them for that. Right. I just hurt with them because I hurt for them because, I want them to have whatever it is that they're looking for. I want them to have it so bad. But so long as they have those mindsets, they'll never grab it. They'll chase it and chase it and chase it, and they'll never grab it, and that sucks.
It does, because we see successful people want to hang around successful people.
Sure.
But we see negative people trying to tear successful people down.
Sure.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
it's a little weird, If somebody walks in a room and they're well put together, and you can tell, and I've seen you do this before, and you can tell they care about their body and stuff, you will listen to them more intently and longer. Sure. And lean towards believing what they're saying just by how they handle themselves physically and how they handle their body.
Absolutely.
Because
true.
you see success in that area immediately in their life, and you assume they're probably having success in other areas of their life. I do the same thing when I see somebody that's been successful in business and they've done well. I want to learn from them. Yesterday I was doing a business deal, and one of the guys that was doing the business deal, he was actually the guy that was notarizing the papers and stuff. Started asking some questions, and then he said, "Hey, you got 5 minutes? Let me teach you something." And I was like, "Sure." Well, 2 other business guys were in there also, and they both said, "Well, can we learn too?" And immediately, I know both of these guys.
Yeah.
But my respect level for them just went up, because this guy was offering to teach me something that he felt like would be needed in my life. And these 2 other business guys wanted to learn it too, even though he wasn't even talking to them.
Yeah.
They just had a seat at the table, but they used that seat at the table as an opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Now, I love to learn.
Brilliant.
And you know what I'm saying? I love to learn from people that's gone before me, from people that know more than me. I hate when I'm the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I want to be able to learn from people smarter than me. And so it was a no-brainer to me to learn. I like it. I dig it. But now I got more respect, because they both could have just acted like they was going to listen or not listen or this or that. But they both spoke up and said, "Well, I like to listen too."
Yeah.
Well, that made me feel good about them. So I want to hang out with them even more, because they might not be at some great level, but at the same time, I can tell that they're wanting to continue to get better. And so anyhow, just little things like that mean a lot to successful people.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. And so when you have success, we kind of talked about a couple of things you need to watch out for. We talked about being humble
Yes.
in the midst of your success. Those, can't stress those things enough. If you're successful, one of the best things you can do is help to make other people successful. You will find humility in that place, and you will build yourself a network of people who are for you when you're trying to build other people's success. And so that's something that I would encourage is now you can't do it immediately. You can't be poor today, start a business tomorrow, make $1,000 your first day, and then your second day open a business seminar, try to put on a business seminar. You know what I mean? Like it takes some time to build rapport and let those things kind of become normal for you. But I would highly encourage that if you think that you're successful, you ought to be helping other people be successful.
Yeah, let me say this. First off, I agree with that 100%. But I want to add something else to that, because whether we're talking about business or with your physical presence in your body, or we're talking about in Christian walk, or whatever we're talking about, we do want to help other people in everything that we do. Lately I've been writing goals at the first of the year, and then my last goal is that, hey, everything that I've learned, I want the opportunity to pour into somebody else, So, so if this one's interested in this part, or that one and that one, or that one and that one, I want an opportunity to pour that in other people. So we definitely want to, use our success to help train, mentor, and help other people. But let me offer this just piece of advice. Only give it to those that want to receive it in the area that they want to receive it long term. Meaning you can offer advice to anybody, but don't fully invest in trying to teach somebody, work with somebody, mentor somebody in a certain area when they're not ready to receive it. That's really and they good. Don't want to receive it. Because not only are you wasting your time, you're also missing the opportunity on the person that God had for you to give it to. Because we are relational. God's plan is for you to sow into somebody, pour it into somebody. But if they're not ready to receive it, then you need to go on to the next person or find a different thing. Meaning if your friend's just not ready to start working out yet, you can offer some advice, you can mentor somebody, you can, mention something to them, but don't just keep beating them in the head with it, because
you'll lose a friend.
You'll lose a friend. Same thing. If you got a friend that, only has $20 in his checking account, and you're telling him about the next greatest investment, hey, look, it's okay to mention it to him. It gives him some goals. But at the time, he's like, man, I don't have $5,000. It doesn't matter how great of an investment it is. I have $5, or 20, or whatever it is. So just make sure that, and if it's somebody that just doesn't want to move forward in life, we have a mutual friend that I've had to have that talk with him. He thinks that everybody should moving forward in every aspect of their lives at all times, because that's his mentality. His mentality is it's keep getting better, keep getting better, keep getting keep getting better at everything that we do. But he runs into a lot of roadblocks with employees and people around him because they just don't want to get better.
Yeah.
And so I've had to tell him, hey, don't quit encouraging them, but back off some. Find somebody that does want to get better and sow into their lives.
Yeah.
Because we can't just, look at my four and no more and try to be successful on our own. We have to be pouring into lives. But if you're pouring into the wrong people's lives, it can be a detriment to you and to them. So you got to pray about who you're going to spend time with. Yeah. Pray about who you're going to influence.
That may be the most important thing that you've said today. It's definitely more important than anything that I've said today is understanding when and who to give advice to.
Amen.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've been on the other end of a table just like this one, hearing somebody pour their heart out to me because all they're trying to do is help. And the other person's not receiving it, and their relationship is getting more and more strained. And it's like, did they ask for your help? Well, no, but let me stop you there. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Love isn't shown through advice. Love can be verified through advice, but it's not how it's shown. And a lot of times that's what people think. They think that if I give advice, that shows that I love them. No, it doesn't. It shows that you think you're smarter than they are. Take a breath.
Yep.
If it's not asked for, then it's an assertion of dominance. I know that that's not what you mean when you do it,
Right.
but it is what you're doing. You know, if I try to tell you right now, hey, look, man, you know, that's a decent shirt you got on, but I'd have probably, on a day like this with that type of lighting, I'd have probably wore this kind of shirt. It doesn't matter if I'm trying to help you. In your mind, all you said is, this guy thinks I don't even know how to dress. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, there's no way around it. Now, if you said, hey, what do you think about this shirt? And then I said that, now it's not an assertion of dominance. I'm just responding to what you asked.
Right.
You know, it's same advice, same type of speech, same words, same sentences, same tone, same cadence. All of it can be exactly the same. But if you ask for it, it's all good.
Yep.
But if I just offer it, you know, and you hear people say things like this, and look, I'm probably guilty of it from time to time, just not paying attention, you know, just trying to help, man.
Yeah.
Just trying to help. But a lot of times people say, well, hey, look, man, you know, if you want my advice, if they wanted it, they'd ask.
Right.
If they wanted your advice, they would have asked for it.
And we're not saying, you know, don't ever mention anything to anybody or whatever. We're just saying that at some point, you got to sow into somebody that wants to be sowed into in the area that they want to be sowed into at the time that they want to receive it.
Yeah. I'm doing a cut right now. I've been doing a cut for 32-ish days. And when I first started, I just kind of made a post on Facebook about it and kind of just opened the floor to anybody that wanted to be in that conversation, or if they had some questions. I don't think I even said if you have any questions. It was just kind of worded in a way that if you want to be a part, let me know.
Right.
And so the post got a whole bunch of likes. I didn't send a bunch of messages to people that liked the posts, but I got a whole bunch of comments, people asking questions, and a whole bunch more private messages with people asking questions, and we're having those conversations. Some of the people I'm still talking to about what's going on. Some of them said, hey, look, man, I'm not really looking for advice. I'm really just kind of looking for accountability. I'm about to try to do something wrong. I'm like, hey, awesome. I'll text you in a week. I'll ask you how it's going. A week later, I shoot them a text, no answer. Well, I don't keep hounding them.
Right.
Because they're not looking for that right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they wanted accountability, it was given, and they didn't respond to it. So it's just not time to try to force that issue. The only exception to this rule, in my mind, and there may be more than one, but I can only think of one off the top of my head, you may have another, is if something is in serious jeopardy.
Yeah, if somebody's supposed to hurt themselves, if there's some major addiction, if, you know, anything like that, then, you know, we got to jump in.
Toss all this advice out of the window.
This is a totally different situation. You know, that's dealing with trauma. That's dealing, you know, emotional issues, different things like that. We're just talking about a successful person sowing into somebody's life, you know.
Like one of your buddies who's just given his life to Christ is about to get in a relationship with a promiscuous woman.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the time.
I don't care if you ask me or not.
Yeah. Hey, that's really stupid.
Right.
You know, and I'll tell him. But you just understand, you know, because I think it's important you walk into all things with understanding. Understand that when you have to have that conversation, you are saying, without saying, I'm willing to sacrifice our relationship to give you this advice.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times we do that. I know I've seen myself do that, and you do that. We might walk into a room and say, hey, just want you to know that's really stupid.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But if you ever want to have a conversation about why it's stupid or you got any questions, come let me know.
Yeah.
You know, and then so we're not just beating him over the head with it. We are letting him know where we stand, where God stands, and, you know. But most of the time when you give advice like that, the Holy Spirit's done gone ahead of you.
Usually, yeah.
And already told them. They might not realize it, and then all of a sudden they're like, I hate that dude.
Yeah.
But I gotta love him because the Holy Spirit's already showed me that. You know what I'm saying? And so they can be a little mad. They don't literally hate you. They're just mad about the deal. But at the same time, we'll throw it in there. But then offer an opportunity for them to come and receive more of it if they want to, but not badger them if they don't.
Yeah, and those conversations are necessary from time to time. They just are the hard ones. Y'all were messing with me. You were for sure, because I don't raise my voice much. If I raise my voice, it's because we are well beyond the point of turning back, and I don't do it hardly ever. You've probably heard me do it maybe 5 times in all the years we've known each other, but 3 were in one day, within a window of about 2 hours, and it wasn't that long ago. And it was for those reasons. Like people had entered into situations where this is about to become life or death for them. And so I'm paying the price of our relationship to say what needs to be said. And we just happened to knock 3 out real fast. Different situations, but all equally necessary. And so just like I said, walk into that with understanding. I can't go home after a conversation like that and be like, man, I can't believe that Steve don't want to be my friend anymore. It's like, dude, that was the entry cost for what you just said. And if it lands, which we pray it does, but that's really kind of the work of the Holy Spirit. To your point, is he'll come back around. It's just not right now, and so.
Well, on a little different side, when we talk about successful people, sold into people, I know when I, started getting more involved in real estate business, and we started having those conversations in the office and stuff, and we talk about it. You knew a lot about those things from being in the insurance business and claims and different things like that, and talking about stuff. And then you had Ryan Kincaid over here, and he's just listening, and he's just listening. Well, then he starts hearing words like equity and resources and stuff to do with banking, and starts hearing stuff like that. And then he comes and, asks a question, and I'm not trying to talk to him a lot about this. This is a young man that's not been married that long, they just bought their first house, trying to figure things out, and stuff. But then an opportunity is this, and he's like, hey, I've been hearing y'all say this in the office. Does it mean this or does it mean that? And he starts asking questions. And then next thing you know, there is an opportunity available for him, to walk through a door and be able to do some things that make us proud, And now he's having his own success. And then now I can hear him talking to other people about that, and he's teaching some people, but you got to watch who you teach it to, because you got to teach it to somebody that's ready to learn, And in fact, he came to me about a deal yesterday morning and said, do you think that this would be smart that I even mention this to this guy? And I was like, well, if you did it this way, then I think it would be good and beneficial. But if you did it this way, I don't think it would. Hey, next thing I know, he's stepping into that. So hey, man, to be successful, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but there are things that you need to look out for. You need to check your pride at the door. You need to always be humble, and you need to be sowing into other people. Just make sure it's the right people at the right time, and you need to stay away from the naysayers and the negative people. Not that you want a bunch of yes men around you, but at the same time, I'd rather have yes men than I would people that are just being negative all the time.
Yeah, I don't see those two being related, the yes men and negative people, because I think that, to me, the opposite of yes men would be, the opposite of negative people would be optimists, not agreeable people, just people who are looking for the good in situations. Yes men are very dangerous, but that's a whole nother, and I know that, we talk about that. Matter of fact, it's on the books for us to eventually talk about. It's been on my computer for like 4 or 5 weeks. We've just been hitting other things. And, but yeah, we'll dive into that another day. I do think that it's important that you understand, if you're somebody who wants to seek to get better, that you understand how to ask for advice. there's no secret technique to it as far as how to do it well, but there's a lot of ways to do it poorly. And I think that's where, you don't have to have a well-rounded thought or a perfect question to ask for advice, but you absolutely can't go ask for advice and then give the person your stated solution after they answer you. They will never take time to advise you again. And so here's what I mean by that. If I confused you with the way I worded that, I apologize. But, if I go up to Clay and say, Clay, what color shirt do you think I should wear tomorrow? Just go ahead and answer me, Clay.
Blue.
I was thinking I was going to wear an orange one, though. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that, because you didn't want advice. What you wanted was for somebody to agree to what you already think is right. If that's what you want, just say that. I promise you.
Go on.
Yeah, they'll be much happier with the conversation if you, instead of doing that, said, "Hey, I was thinking about wearing an orange shirt tomorrow. What do you think?" That'd be a much better question than asking them a question. Really, I don't care what you say. I'm just waiting to tell you what I'm planning. It's
Or
like,
I've been wearing orange every day, but I'm not getting anybody complimenting me about it. Can you give me some advice on that?
Sure, sure.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Or the other, like you said, man, if you really aren't looking for input, don't ask for it. People, most men, I don't want to speak for women because I'm not one, and I don't want to speak for everybody because that's unfair. Most men don't want to talk just for the sake of talking.
Right.
That's just factual. And so, if you don't want my opinion, dude, I'd like to save my words. I'd love to. This podcast is hard to do,
Right.
for that reason, because it's like I feel like the conversation is great. I think it's educational. I think that, and I enjoy having the conversation. But it's also a lot more words than I'm used to putting out on a day-to-day basis before we were filming this. And we only film one day a week normally. Right. And so all my other days have significantly fewer words involved in them. And so,
well, let's relate it this way. We've talked about and documented on the show that when you want to get to know somebody, you go try to find what they like to do, and then you go do it.
Correct.
Why? Because it's a lot easier for them to do what they're comfortable doing around a new person than it is for them to do something new around a new person. It's a lot more difficult. So when you go talk to somebody about something that they're successful at, then it's really easy for them to want to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Right? So, whereas guys may not want to talk a whole lot, but they do like to talk about what they're good at. Right? So if you want their advice, go ask for it. They'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But if you don't want their advice, don't waste their time.
Yeah. Sure.
And if you're going to ask their advice on what they're good at. Don't ask their advice on something that they're not good at.
Yeah.
I was watching a show, NCIS, the other day, and a girl was having one of the agents was having a little trouble in a relationship or whatever. Somebody had said the wrong thing. She was thinking about taking another job, and her boss, she was asking her boss, who is her boss, who she can go to for advice. He says, well, don't ask me about relationship advice. Well, the reason is he's been divorced 3 times, right? So he's great on how to deal with a dead body, but he's not great on marriage advice. So ask advice to people that can give you good advice, and ask them in the areas that they're good at.
Yeah. Yep. And don't be the negative person we were referring to earlier either. That does not need to be you. And when I say I understand, I'm not saying I can relate, because I can't relate. But I do understand the place of fear that stems from, because especially, because this is one we just see a lot, is people turning their life around, and then, they're praying all the time, and they're, going to church, and they're singing and it's like somebody be like, hey, look, man, you don't really have to do all that to be a Christian, and really, they're not saying anything about that. What they're saying is, I'm uncomfortable doing all of that, and I'd like to be in the same category you are, but for me to be there, it seems like either I've got to do what you're doing, or you got to stop doing it and do what I'm doing. And so what can we do to match again? What can we do to match again? One of us has got to move a direction.
Yeah.
And so, but that's usually how it happens. It's like you start.
And it's a lot easier to go down than it is to go up.
That's right. And that's why we were talking, or I mentioned earlier that, a lot of times it's people trying to justify their own behaviors. And that's kind of where the negativity comes from. It's like, look, there is, and again, unless there is some serious jeopardy, there's no reason for your negative opinion. Mm-hmm. There's really not. Unless what you're telling them is genuinely for their benefit. There's no reason for you to tell them. And there's no reason for you to tell anyone else. There were some young ladies at church the other night, and everybody's different. Everybody does different stuff, and like you said, I try to kind of relate with people where they are. There's a couple young ladies that they're not real sporty. They play, but they mostly just like to sit around and talk. So every now and then, I'll just go, "Hey, what are we talking about? What's the conversation?" And the other day, they were like, "Hey, did you hear about such and such?" I was like, "I don't even know who that is." And they were like, "Well, we need to tell you what happened." I was like, "Is this going to help them?" And they were like, "What?" Like, you just see the look on their face. Like, what do you mean? It's like, are you telling me this because they need help? And me knowing this is going to help me help them. They were like, "No." I was like, "Don't tell me. I don't want to know." And they were like, "No, you need it." No, I'm good. I don't even want to hear about it. Mm-hmm. So not only will I not say it, I won't hear it either. And if you'll carry yourself like that, there'll be a lot less of that around you.
Yep.
Now,
and then you can have a lot less bad conversations.
Yeah. Now you may now be the subject of some of that. It's like, "Oh, Andrew won't even let us talk."
He won't listen to me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to vent.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I understand.
Yeah. Hey, look, man. We knocked a lot of this out of the park.
We did good.
We didn't talk about our get to know you segment question. We kind of ripped straight in, and I don't want to talk about it. I think it's a good one. I'd like to save it for the next episode.
Yeah, I think we got some things coming up, and we'll just push some of that back. I think it was good. I do want to say this before we finish. There are people out there that are scared of success, and that may be a whole nother thing. But we just want to tell you that the good outweighs the bad. Don't sabotage yourself just because you see yourself better than you have before and you're scared that, the glass slipper's going to drop or whatever the term is, whatever it's supposed to be. But I'm just saying, don't be scared to do good. Don't be scared to be successful. And don't be scared to let people depend on you. Those are all good things, and good things will come out of that, and God wants to do a major work in your life. So what is it supposed to be? The ceiling's going to fall, you're going to lose a slipper. What is it?
The other shoe's going to drop is probably...
Well, what does that even mean? The shoe's going to drop?
I don't know, but that's...
Has that got something to do with Cinderella?
All I can tell you is I'm pretty sure you blended a few different things together. Yeah.
You don't think it's the glass slipper's going to drop?
Everybody knows that the early bird shouldn't throw stones.
He who is alone has no company.
Yeah. Wow. Very fortune cookie-esque.
We love y'all.
Yeah.
See y'all next time.